Hi, everybody. My name is Grant with Tulip. I'm on the customer solutions team here. And today I'd like to take a few minutes and walk through the OEE calculator application, which came out of our reusable content development efforts. This application is really intended as a simple way to begin to digitize productivity and shift data. It can happen, across a variety of machines or cells, but this is typically replacing forms, whiteboards, Excel manual entry that we typically see, across the industry. So the entire process here is you're still filling out a form, but we're able to now provide kind of long-term data storage and aggregation so you can analyze your data appropriately. This is the main user interface for the screen. Now, if you're familiar with Tulip applications, you'll understand that all of this is drag and drop, no code development, so it can be very easily customized to your own needs. But the way this application is intended to work is we have a set list of machines. This could also be cells, lines, whatever you really want to manage your productivity for. This table here is controlled by this Tulip table. So we see the test machine that we saw in the application. Now, this is really just providing a standard list of machines that can be selected so that we can appropriately, aggregate and analyze. But we do provide other kind of metadata to the machines, including department, machine type, machine model. And you'll see when I look over the analytics as to why we do this, but it's essentially to give us kind of logical partitions in how we might aggregate our data. So you may want to view, an entire department's OEE for a particular time period. And this is what kind of enables that functionality. Going back to the application here, we see some basic information around the item, the operation, the work order. None of this is really mandatory for the calculation, but again, it helps provide some additional data points that allow you to go back in to your data. And, if you ever wanted to see when this work order was run or, how much downtime you had during it, if you had any scrap parts, that will enable that functionality as well. This middle section here is really where kind of all of the shift data, and I keep referring to it as shift data, but really you could run this app every 5 minutes. You could do it once a day. You could do it, several times across many different lines, and this will aggregate all of your data appropriately. So I've gone ahead and filled in some example data here. We've reported some downtime, some scrap parts with notes and reason codes. So I'm going to go ahead and press the calculate button. And what this is doing is running calculations that I will provide documentation for if you're interested in this application. And all of these calculations can be very easily manually configured to exactly what you want them to be, understanding that there's no real one definition of OEE. It's heavily dependent on what you prioritize and value as a manufacturer. So I can essentially check locally to see how my reported OEE was here. But the key is this calculate and submit button, which is essentially going to take all of this data and store it into our backend completion data bucket. And this is what allows us to go back in and analyze the data that we've collected. So if I go ahead and press calculate and submit, and then I'm going to go back to the Tulip web application. Now, if I look at my analytics, so this is a single number that I've already pre-configured, but I've also, in the documentation that I referred to before, I have a few examples of how you could actually go about building these analytics. But what we do is this is our weekly performance, and I've essentially filtered all of the data to represent the injection molding department. So what that looks like is I have my expression here. So this is what our current definition of performance is. I'm looking at the current week's worth of data, and I'm looking at the current machine department being injection molding. Now, this is something that I could very easily, again, configure if I had an entire list of machines. It's something that, it allows everyone to kind of parse this data in their own way, and you can create your own analytics very easily. If I was interested in rather than seeing the current week, if I wanted to see my all-time data, we can actually see that number changes, drastically from some of the other tests that I've run. So this is the power behind what digitizing your process data can really do. It gives you this data bucket that you can always constantly kind of refer back to and splice the data in whichever way you're interested in seeing. This application is ready to, it's functional out of the box. You can run it on one station for your entire production facility. You could run it on several stations for your entire production facility. It doesn't impact how the application runs. So, if you have any questions on this application, please feel free to reach out. I've got some documentation that I can provide around this. It can be pretty quickly imported to your instance, this application. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So, if you have any feedback, please let me know and feel free to reach out. Thanks.